Usual disclaimer applies. I received a review copy of this game for free from the devs and keymailer. However, I was not paid to promote this game, and all opinions are my own. And I'd also like to say off the top that BIOMORPH is pretty dark in tone despite the semi-cutesy main character. Some of the themes throughout, as well as some pretty intense gore, may not vibe with some people, so viewer discretion is advised. Alright, let's get right into it. BIOMORPH is an action platformer Metroidvania developed and published by Lucid Dream Studio. And this one right here is something special. First off, this is very much a Metroidvania through and through, with plenty of exploration, tons of secrets to find, and a very interesting story. Now, on the last few Metroidvanias I've reviewed recently, I've mentioned that they don't really scratch the itch of more platforming intensive games like Hollow Knight or Celeste. And BIOMORPH not only scratches that itch, but digs its nails in and won't let go. If you want to collect everything, you're going to have to put your skills to the test on this one. Here, we have a ton of movement options past the usual runs and jumps, my favorites being the ability to dash in any of the 8 directions, or travel through power lines. Other than the traversal moves you'll obtain as Harlow, our main character, there is another very important mechanic at play in BIOMORPH. There are 2 types of enemies for you to deal with. Blue Ferox enemies that explode into currency when killed, and flesh and blood / biomechanical creatures that also explode into currency, but meat as well. Harlow can goop their way into all the meaty crevices of whatever creature you just eviscerated, kinda like a gross reverse flesh Kirby. After you've skinwalked enough unique instances of any given creature, you're then allowed to equip up to 3 at any save point and transform at your leisure. Watch out though, after you've disrespected an enemy by wearing their body like a suit, the original enemy will be replaced with a souped up version, so your mileage may vary. I'm sure you'll be seeing minimum possession runs just like Mario Odyssey eventually. So in addition to attacks, these BIOMORPHs will also provide progression skills. The best comparison I can make here is about halfway through the game you're given a transformation into a little flying robot that, if you've ever played a Castlevania from Symphony of the Night onwards, works very much like the Bat transformation. Okay, speaking of attacks, how about we move on to combat? If you've ever played Hollow Knight, you'll be right at home here. However, I dare to say that BIOMORPH pushes it one step further in terms of customization and weapon variety. Between the 15 weapons, or chips as they're called here, and 21 different BIOMORPHs with 1 or 2 different attacks each, there are tons of ways to fight your battles. And the battles are awesome. All of the beautifully animated bosses are an absolute pleasure to fight. Most of them took me a couple of shots to get the patterns down, but they all felt very satisfying to beat. I also enjoyed when they decided to work in a required BIOMORPH for the fight. Big Robo was, as always, a standout for me. So, in addition to your massive arsenal, you've also got a dodge roll that makes you invincible, and vital containers that act as Estus flasks from FromSoft titles. However, these puppies refill as you wail on enemies, as well as at save points, so that's a welcome addition. Be sure to keep a close eye on your health and make good use of your dodge because you go down fast if you're taking shots. Spikes only do 20 damage, but towards the end of the game you'll be taking whacks for 80 to 120 damage, with a starting maximum of 150. I'm here for it, I like being a glass cannon already, but I didn't see a way to play this game like a full endurance run of Dark Souls. You've got to get at least a little bit good with the dodge to make it through. So the save points here are also going to act as your wave points, but only if you choose to upgrade them. Early on, you're given a set amount of upgrade kits, and it's up to you where you want to fast travel to. As the game goes on, you'll be given more kits, but you'll have to be pretty choosy early on, or you'll run out of the ability to upgrade them into waypoints when you really need them. Another big part of BIOMORPH is the town building aspect. As you move through the world, you'll encounter a cast of colorful characters, most of whom being in desperate need of help. After you work out their woes, or make them worse in some cases, they'll usually make their way to the main hub town, Blightmoor. Here you'll be given blueprints for new structures, and the ability to grow your town with new shops and services, as well as cosmetic upgrades for anyone who likes to pretty up the joint. Side quests also usually net you items to upgrade your weapons or perks, called mementos here. Mementos are your usual buffs mostly, like increased damage against bosses or faster activation of your vital containers. However, I like the gore one. At some point in my footage you'll notice more blood, and that was a memento. Oh boy, that was a lot more than I usually write about the gameplay, but I think that it's really necessary. There's a lot going on in BIOMORPH, and honestly, I probably missed some stuff anyways, so let's just move on to a more in-depth look at the visuals. And holy criminy gistmas, BIOMORPH looks phenomenal. You can tell that tons of effort went into every single hand-drawn frame and background here, right down to the fact that every single transformation has its own wall hang animation. The bosses are all screen-filling monstrosities that feel absolutely great to punch in the face. They really didn't skimp on these guys. Big Robo. In addition to the monsters, there are a huge cast of NPCs that all look very original and alien in a super cool way. I'd be lying if I said I didn't think of the Lombaxes from Ratchet & Clank when I saw Harlow for the first time, but there really is a lot more to the design than just the big ears. A lot of care and attention went towards making sure that these characters felt like they all belong in this strange and fantastical world. Speaking of the world, holy crap did they do a good job with biome variety here. You've got abso-friggin-lutely everything from a war-torn former capital to mushroom caverns to an industrial war machine factory, and they all look wonderful. One of my favorite little touches is that whenever you deliver the finishing blow to a boss, rather than showing a big death animation, which you do get a little of anyway, you're treated to an aftermath background of the boss's usually pretty brutalized corpse. I'm not sure I've ever seen this done before, and frankly I'm kinda sad that I haven't. It adds a lot to the permanency of the world. The cutscenes are hand-drawn as well, and hot damn do they look great. I showed my daughter a cutscene out of context, and she was like, "Is that on the Disney Channel or Cartoon Network? That looks really cool." So network quality right off the get-go there. And I don't know where else to put this, because it doesn't really fit in with the rest of my review, but Among Us... That's an Among Us... Among Us... Among Us... Among Us. And now some talk about the sound design, and I'm not changing my tune here either. BIOMORPH delivers banger after banger on this soundtrack that blends full instrumentation with strong melodies. Not quite the chiptunes of RZ, but still, these are earworms, definitely. I find that when I hear a large orchestral score, however moving and impactful it is at the time, I usually can't remember the melody well enough to hum it later. That's not the case here. A few standouts for me were the cutscene piano near the end of the game, as well as Dustboro, which reminded me of one of my favorite tracks from Chrono Trigger, and honestly, big props there. I also really enjoyed the varied monster noises. Having each thing screech in a different way was very much appreciated. It's insane how often you'll get like 3 different damage noises for 40 plus different enemies. So yeah, you've got everything from your high-octane boss music to your brooding, I'm walking through an abandoned skyport slow tracks and everything in between. I couldn't ask for more here. Beautifully done. Now, the story is a fun mystery with amnesiac Harlow waking up in the strange and alien core just barely separated from their friend Cleo, and I hope I'm pronouncing that right. And after busting out with the help of Annie and Zeki? Your hands, and I hope I got that right. I think I'm right. I hope. It's up to you to figure out what the hell is going on and how you can get back into the core to rescue Cleo. As I mentioned before, there are tons of colorful characters to round out this already vibrant world, and thankfully that color is more than just literal. The writing here is awesome. Each character reads with a unique voice and lends their personality to the unfolding story, even if they don't play a main part. Side characters sometimes even stealing the show, like the greasy scumbag who repeatedly sends you to hell and back for his own personal gain. In addition to all the fun world building, as you progress through BIOMORPH, you uncover more and more of the mystery and run into some pretty startling twists that make M. Night Shyamalan look like a degenerate with a good movie and a half under his belt. This is editing, Jamie, and I can't believe I wrote and recorded that line. I usually forget to do this, so the main story of BIOMORPH is around 8 to 10 hours long, and to 100% it, I would say is probably between 20 to 30 hours depending on your skill level. Needless to say, I enjoyed the journey BIOMORPH took me on. I was honestly surprised by how invested I was in the story and world by the end. The gorgeous and varied visuals of a warped and twisted world, handily merging organic with mechanical, are breathtaking to behold, and the extremely customizable combat paired with very fluid and competent movement makes BIOMORPH a joy to play and easy to fit to any playstyle. Like I said earlier, this is great for having fun and difficult platforming sections, along with blow your bag off boss fights, and hot damn it, just keep punching in the best way possible. Do yourself a favor and go grab BIOMORPH. It's an awesome game. If you enjoyed Hollow Knight and are pissed that SILKSONG is still a fake, spooky whisper, I honestly enjoyed BIOMORPH more in some aspects and can't recommend it enough. And as always, thank you to everyone for watching. It really means a ton. I love doing these reviews, and it's really an honor to get to play games like this. I know nobody's watching the end of these, but if you really want to help me out a ton, please like and subscribe, and everybody have an awesome day. Bye!